everyone, hope you're all well, getting ready for Christmas. I know I am. I've iced my cakes and I've put up my tree and busy getting odds and ends. I've done my daughter's Christmas stocking, sent it off to her, very, very happy and very, very proud of myself so far. So I thought in this video, it's not going to be very long, but I thought that we would just look at shapes and identifying where certain sort of plumb lines, they call them, begin and end, and to help you with your drawings when you are getting further into portraits. So let's have a look at this lovely face, this lovely young lady. I know her very well, know her personally, and she has allowed me to use her pictures, which is absolutely fabulous. So if we have a look at the top of her lid, because do bear in mind that this is at an angle. I'm not too sure what angle that is, but her face is at an angle. So if we were to draw a line down this side, is this pen working? Barely. So if we were to draw a line down here, and we can see that her eyes are at that angle. So if we take the ruler further down, that should obviously marry up with everything else on her face, and it does. You can see that it marries up perfectly with that angle, including her nose. So let me just get that in. So her entire face is tilted down. She's looking at something with her face tilted down. If we were to carry on with these plumb lines and we look at the edge of her nose, so if this is the edge of her nose here, and we take a straight line, that is a straight line, it still marries up with her tear duct. So we still have that plumb line in place. So given that her face is tilted and we can clearly see that it is, perhaps this is straight from that side to the bottom of her, from the top of this eyelid to the bottom of that lid there. Let's have a look and see if that is straight. It's more or less straight. So that will help you with regards to your drawing. You will then know that the top of this eye is in line with the bottom of the eye next to it. And you can see here, in fact here, if you look on my cutting mat, it is perfectly straight, how that the top of her eye here lines up with the bottom of her eye there. So let's see if we were, obviously this is a very, very big angle, but that should help you as well, in that the top of that lid at that angle lines up obviously with the bottom of that eye on the other side. If we take her eyebrow, because remember that her head is tilted, we can see that her eyebrow lines up with the top of her nostril. So these are all plumb lines and all observations that you need to be looking at. In fact, it doesn't, I lie. It's in the middle of her nostril, but it's in the straight in line with the top of her lip, that little curve that one has in one's lip. So that eyebrow lines up perfectly with the center of her lip. You can see there perfectly with that. Let's have a look at where her mouth ends. Let's take a straight line from there to there. I'm going to use my cutting board. I'm going to line her up. Let's have a look and see. No, that does not line up, but it does with her iris. So that is the same as when we have her facing us. Almost lines up perfectly with the edge of her iris. These are things that you need to be looking for when you draw your portrait. Make sure that you look for these points so that it helps you line up and it helps you get a perfect line, a perfect illustration of where things need to go. If we look at her nose, I'm just thinking what we could use. So you could use an angle, and you could say that the edge of her eye lines up at that angle with the top of her nostril. You could use that as a point, and then you could use her tear duct here for the edge of her nostril. So we could line that up and use that as a point as well, as a plumb line. So all these different plumb lines do help you get to a really great portrait. Let's have a look at the distance between her. In fact, I don't want to use my ruler because I never ever do. Let's look at the distance between her nostril and her tear duct. Let's have a look and see. So it's about that. And if we measure it down, we get the bottom of her lip. So that measurement, this measurement, and this measurement, this one, my bad, sorry, this measurement here and this measurement are both the same. So that's something else that you can do to help line up the proportions of her face. If we look at her lips, let's have a look at her lips. Do we have a chin? Yes, we do. So her chin is almost the same as her lips. And I have measured it from this top point here, from there to the bottom, and measure it back down again. And we have got almost a perfect lineup of her chin. So these are all points and all measurements and plumb lines that you can use for your drawing. If you look at this line, which was the first line that we had a look at because we wanted to get the angle of what the face is sitting at, we would take it straight up to our eyebrows as well, and it would be the same measurement or the same angle as at the bottom as it is at the top, and that's what you would be looking at. So this line here that goes through is the same angle as this line, this line, this line, her mouth and her chin. They're all the same angle. So have a look for what we call plumb lines, and then have a look at shapes. So this would be, and this is what you need to be drawing, you need to be looking at shapes. So here's a shape, and shapes will help you. You can see that that is another shape as far as the shadow goes. That shadow is then again from here, there is shadow all over, but if I look at the more pronounced shadow and I look at that shape, that is the shape that we get. There are two predominant shadows here. You can see that that one is a bit darker. Obviously the nostril is much, much darker, and you can see that this tonal value ends here and up there, and there's another tonal value here as well as this area, this little slip here. That's another tonal value. That tonal value ends there, which is the same as that one, and you can see that there is just a little bit of light here just on the edge of this nostril, which is usual. This would be the top of the nose, which I always say to you has a little round reflection. This reflection is more here. So there's a tonal value there, and you can see that there is a light sliver here, and all of these will make a massive difference to your drawing. Observe and do this before you even start with the drawing. Here you can see that there's beautiful light reflection, and obviously, well, not obviously, but there is a light reflection just here on the edge of her pupil. Can you see it? Not pupil, her iris. Can you see that? I've drawn over it, but her tear duct is also very, very light, as is this side of her eye. This is all very, very light. And that tonal value that we see here continues on this side above her eye, and this is another tonal value here that you can see. So look out for all of these, the subtle changes that happen when you print out. And print it out and go through it and have a look, because here you can clearly see the shadow comes down and around. There's a shadow here under her lip. There's a shadow here above her lip. There's a shadow here with her nose. Comes down. And her lip is made up of many different tonal values. So look out for them. Look out for all the detail and try your best to get them in, because this is what makes the difference between a brilliant drawing and an outstanding one. So work towards this. This is what you're working towards. Within this shadow, here you can see that she has a mole. I know that she does put these in on her photographs, but draw them in because they are brilliant for detail. And here you can see that there's a very, very dark shadow. Look at this, beautiful. This whole entire area. There's another tone. That's another tone altogether. And here is a lighter area. But honestly, go through your portraits, print them out and have a look at them and look at the subtle changes within them. Because like I say, it will make a massive difference. This looks like a stippled. The way I've printed this out, it's stippled. Her chin is here. There's a light reflection here, cast shadow. And then she has this shadow that comes across here. And then she's got, there are two tonal values in her neck. Obviously these are all black, 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 and you want to take care of those. You want to put those in. You want this to stand out. This is a definite yes, this shadow here, to help you make her pop. This here, and this shadow across the top of her eye. Can you see that? And then the top of her eyelid is light all the way down, all the way around her eye. But this top of her eye has got a beautiful shadow in it, and then obviously her iris with a light reflection, and then you've got her eyelashes, these beautiful eyelashes. So look for these subtle things, but study your picture first before you start drawing it, and before you even start putting it down on paper. Draw on it exactly like I have done. There is, her nose is there, because it'll create memory, muscle memory, and you will end up with a very, very beautiful drawing. So have a look at that and make sure that you do that on each and every one of them. This is obviously a totally different type of picture that she has done. She's a master at adding subtle changes and that to her photographs. But here you can see that she's got a lot of beautiful tones going on here. I love this picture. This is her nose ring. So there you can see there are lots and lots of subtle tonal values going on here. Look at this. Absolutely stunning. And this is what will help you with your drawing. That will actually excel your drawing, because looking at all of these light reflections, light reflections, and making sure that you have them in your drawing, all these different tonal values, is what will make you different to everybody else, because you've noticed, you've taken note, and you've added them into your drawing. So here's a bit of light that's sitting in the corner of her eye, and this she's also at an angle here. You can see that this is at an angle. And again, you can do plumb lines as we did with the first one. I love this, the way that her lips blur, and then it has a subtle shadow at the top here, because if you look at lips, it's not a solid line that makes the lips. It disappears into the skin. This line, this edge of the lips disappears into the skin. it isn't an absolute solid line. So have a look at all of these beautiful edges that she has managed to achieve here with her photograph. You can see that the light is obviously coming from that side, but if you look at her lips, you can see that she's got a gorgeous shape here that is lighter on that side, and that little area there is darker, and this disappears into her skin. This is darker here, and there's a bit of a light reflection there. And then we have this amazing shadow that comes down on the side. And here again, there are a few tonal values that are in them, or in it. You can clearly see them. That's one there. And then we have this very dark one. Her chin, her jawline is here. And we have this very dark one that runs up the edge there. And then this dark one here. She has a beautiful dimple in her chin. So look for these subtle changes. Look at where the light reflection is and look at the shapes rather than looking at what it is that you are drawing. Look for the shapes. Here you can see that there's a big light reflection. There's a very slight shadow here, and there's a shadow around this nostril, but then it disappears to her face, and this shadow goes up the front of her nostril. So break it down for yourself, and when you're drawing this, make sure that you get these light reflections in of her earring. Make sure that those are in your drawing, because that is what will stand out, and that is what will give you as an artist a certain, what would I say, character, and will, yeah, it definitely gives your drawings a lot bigger boost. Remember that this is a nose ring, so you want to make sure that that is the white of the paper and that you get that very light reflection. So it's jewelry that we're looking at here, and this here is also jewelry. So this, all of these details you can put in. You don't need to put in this entire thing. You could literally shade this in and leave that subtly the paper white. There's a shadow there as well. So you would want to put this into, make sure that her face pops. But break your drawing down. Print it out and break it down like what I have here. Honestly, it helps tremendously when you are drawing it onto paper, transferring what you are seeing onto paper. I hope that you've enjoyed this video, and I hope that it has helped you. Quick little tutorial, and I hope you're all gearing up for Christmas. I know I am. I'm so excited.